My boy Sammy will manage to join us via the.
I don't think he will.
No.
I don't think he will manage.
What? Because there is
the
a.
articles. He's also in
Is
the
a wall.
yeah.
Okay, so if he will be, he will be, and if he will not, he will be.
Yeah.
We started with the it doesn't say which page it is. Just a second. Okay, so before we start, let's take a moment and just bring us up into the space. Hello, welcome. Hey, come sit. Yeah, we're here. Hey, Kim, thanks again. Hello. Okay. You can sit on the Pima seats or hello, hey my boy. See you. Hello.
Excuse me.
Hello. Hey. Hey.
A second. I'm just standing behind you.
Okay. Good. Guys, people are waiting for us. Just bring us up into the space. And you be seated. Sit straight. Be here. For me, it's been a time of traveling, and I'll say a few words about it in my sermon. But for now, we will just be here and appreciate with electricity, without electricity, we are here. And the song will start with Lechilach, go forth to you, to the land that I will show you. It's a song about the journeys, about the calling. When we have the calling, then inside of us there is a voice that commands us, internal voice that commands us to embark on the journey for fulfillment, for spirituality. And this is where we find ourselves, and this is how we come to this place, to other places, while standing for the Spirit. So let's start with that, and then we'll light the candles.
On your journey, I will
118. I'm asking Diane to light the candles for us.
O source of light and creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which we live. Lead us to take the words which you speak into our hearts and our minds.
The blessing is in 118.
Blessed are you, the Lord our God, sovereign of the universe, who headers us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Please join me in the reading in 125 at the bottom with the ever relevant question. 125 at the bottom. Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished? Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. This day, let me be free of the burdens that must return on this day, Shabbat, abide. Help me to withdraw for a while, quite time, in the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. As we learn to pause only for this day, we find peace on this day, that we enter into quiet war this day, Shabbat. Right. So before we embark on the journey of the Psalms on 130, let me say, coming back to Johannesburg, the war that to my idea is was representative of Johannesburg. When you ask someone, how was your week, how was your day, the answer is hectic. Exactly, hectic. And I'm not buying into the story. And I advise you also not to buy into this story. It's a very destructive story that we are telling ourselves about ourselves. And the Shabbat is a tool, is a vehicle, as Rabbi Heshe called it, a temple in time. It enables us to pause and to reflect on what is meaningful in our life and how not to spend the meaningful moments of our life in the hecticness and frankness. Because we can do better and our life worth better. 130, Psalm 95, come, let us sing Joseph to God, therefore, Neranena. bottom, come, let us sing joyously to God, praise a shout for our rock and deliverer. Let us come into God's presence with praise. Let us rise a shout for God in song. For the eternal one is great God and great ruler of all divine beings. In God's hands are the depths of the earth, the peaks of the mountains are God. God was the sea, God made it. And the land which God's hand fashioned, come, let's bow down and kneel, and kneel before God, the Maker. For the eternal one is our God. We are the people of God, and flocking God's care, all if you would but heed God's charge this day. Following Psalm 131, page 10, Psalm 96. Shir Adonai, Shir Chadash, Shir Adonai Kol Haaretz, Shir Adonai Baruch Shemo, Baseru miyom leyom Yeshuato, Tzachru b'goyim kevodo, Bechol ha'amim nifleotav, Ki gadol Adonai u'me'ulam me'od, Lo ahuv al kol Elohim, כל אלוהי העמים אלילים, ואדוני שמיים עשה, עוד בחדרי פניו, עוז ותפארת במקדשו. ישמחו השמיים ותקל הארץ, ירעם הים ומלואו, יעלוז שדי וכל אשר בו, אז ירננו כל עצי יער לפני אדוני, כי בא לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט אמת וצדק ועמים באמונתו. 135, still in the Hebrew, Psalm 99. Adonai malach ירגזו עמים יושב כאובים תנות הארץ, אדוני בציון גדול ורחמו על כל העמים, יודו שמך גדול ונורא קדוש הוא. ועוז מלך משפט אהב, אתה כוננת מישרים, משפט וצדקה ביעקב אתה עשית. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו. אורי.
רוממו אדוני אלוהינו וישתחוו להט קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו וישתחוו להט קודשו, כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו. כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו.
136, 137. This is the last psalm of the sequence of psalm reading Asal Chadodit. It's the psalm according to the rabbinic tradition that was recited by Adam and Eve as they had been created on the first Friday ever. It says it's a song of ode to what the nature brings us. 136, 137. מזמור לדוד, אבו לאדוני בני אלים, אבו לאדוני כבוד ועוז, אבו לאדוני כבוד שמו, השתחוו לאדוני בהדרת קודש, כל אדוני על המים אל הכבוד ירים, אדוני אדוני על מים רבים, כל אדוני בכוח, כל אדוני באדם, כל אדוני שובר עזים, וישבר אדוני את ארזי הלבנון, וירקידם כמו עגל לבנון בסריון, כמו בבמים, כל אדוני חוצן להבות אש, כל אדוני יחיל מדבר, יחיל אדוני מדבר קדש, כל אדוני חולל איילון, ויחשוף יעבוד ויתחלו כולו מכבוד אדוני למה כל ישר וישב אדוני מלך לעולם אדוני עוז לעמו איתך אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום את עמו את עמו בשלום. So here we are, 198, 138, 139, the core of the service, the left of the big come, my beloved, let's go and greet the Shabbat. We are the one who need to make the space for the Shabbat, otherwise the beloved will not have a space to enter. So always I say, where have you been last Shabbat? Had you been here or elsewhere? And last Shabbat was a very special Shabbat. It is surely led by the youth. It was much commented and much appreciated the way the youth had led it, and here we are today in the Lord shedding. So every Shabbat there is something, and I invite you to really find a source, be here, call the soul to its source, to its origin, and enable the spirit of Shabbat and the simplicity, and the spirit and the love to dwell in us, to enter our hearts as individuals, as families, community. May it come to pass that indeed will be refreshed. Also, I'm aware that some people are going to travel next week and they won't be here next week. So for those who are on the edge of a big journey, may it be a blessed one. 138.
It's just more sweet.
This is an unplayable delivery that I
They're
just
doubling with
received
something.
from that world-renowned
But
Chris Barr and James Franklin all the way back in 2004. There was absolutely
generative
nothing that I
power
could
there.
about that.
You see how dim everything is.
Around about 78 miles an hour. Absolutely nothing.
You see by the top of that, you get
just like the one where it's got you moving. I said, yeah,
and I
that's
think
60
Victor
miles an
did.
hour quick.
Psalm, a song for the Shabbat. It is good to praise God and sing hymns to you, Most High. Rory, can you go for Mizmor Shir?
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון, ולזמר לשמך העליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עשו עלינה ולעלה היגיון בכינור בכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון, ולזמר לשמך העליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך רנן, מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך העליון, ולזמר לשמך העליון.
Thanks, Rory. Thanks. The righteous bloom like a dead palm, they thrive like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the Eternal One's house, they flourish in all God's court, in old age, they produce fruit. The fruit of sap and freshness, attesting that God is upright, my rock in whom there is no wrong. Tzaddik Tama Ifrach. 140. Adonai Malach Geut Lavesh Adonai Oz Yitazar Tikon Tevel Bal Timor On Kisacha Me'az Olam Ata. Your throne stands still from all maternity you have existed. The ocean sounds of God, the ocean sounds its thunder, the ocean sounds its pounding. Above the thunder of mighty waters, more majestic than the breakers of the sea, is the Eternal One, majestic on high. Decrees are indeed enduring. Holiness befits your house, O God, all time. Mikolot Maim Rabim, above the water of the many, the sound of the many waters. So now we're moving to the Shema and its blessing, 146. It's right together. Reading you 149 at the top, 149 at the top. Praise to you, eternal our God, from whom, I'll give you a minute, 149 at the top, 49. Praise to you, eternal our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way in which the time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the star, creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night. Heaven spans infinity. You set its course for eternity. Praise to you, eternal our God, from whom the evening flows. Everlasting love, Ahavatullah, 150.
Son
first edition of the Shema is on the following page, 152, 153. Cover the eyes and recite it together again. Find the source, uncover yourself, source of the soul. Rory, I invite you to lead us.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kavod Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Leolam Vaid.
You shall love your eternal God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. Take to heart his instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children, recite them when you stay at home, when you are away, when you lie down, when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand, and let them be a symbol before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אדוני אלוהיכם. אמן. 157 top. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood aside as foot. Wherever we go, this is eternally Egypt. There is a better place, promised land. That the winding way to the promised passes through the wilderness. That there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Mizmocha. Let there be love and understanding among us. Peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Eternal One, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Blessed are you, Eternal One, whose shelter of peace is spread over us and over all of your people Israel, and over Jerusalem, the Adonai. Boaz Sukkah Shalom Aleinu ועל כל עם ישראל ועל ירושלים. 162, the people of Israel should keep the Shabbat v'shamu. We're moving to the Amidah section. Actually looking good. See? Yeah. May these hours of rest and renewal, 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy in our minds. May all who struggle find rest in this day, and all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day, may all who despair find comfort. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. May this day fulfill His promise. Shabbat. Let's sing. Ori.
Retse Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael, utfilatam be'ahava tekabel, uti leratzon tamid avodat Yisrael, amecha, amecha. El karov lechol korav, pnei aladecha v'chaneinu, shpoch ruchacha aleinu, v'tehezena eineinu. Beshovcha leTzion berachamim, Baruch atah Adonai hamachazir shchinato leTzion.
176. We acknowledge the thanks that you are eternal God and develop our ancestors forever. You have brought our lives and shield our salvation for every generation. Thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care. For your miracles that we experience every day, for your wonders, deeds, and favors that we tell from day, evening, and morning. O good one whose mercy never end, compassion on whose kindness never fail, we forever without hope. ולא תשובך באמת, די לשתנו בזרתנו סלע, ברוך אתה אדוני, עד ארשיך ולך נאה לאור. שלום רב, 178. Nice occasions. Reading in 181. We reach for you, our God, from our quiet places. May we stand still for a brief moment and listen to the rain, stand still for a brief moment and watch the play of sunlight, shadow on the leaves. For a brief moment, listen to the word. Let us stop the wheels of every day and be aware of Shabbat, this sanctuary which our soul cherished, renew the covenant with ancient people. We need a quiet space to test the balance of our day, the weight of our own deeds against the heaviness the words demands. The balance is curious, steady, as we faith. Quiet places and stillness, where we will hear our own best impulses speak. Quiet places and stillness, for which we will reach out to each other. We will find strength in silence, and with this strength, we will turn again to your service. May the words of our mouth and the meditation of our heart be acceptable to you, God, our rock and our deliverer. May the one who makes peace in the house places make peace on us and everyone, as we say. Amen. Oh, sorry, Rory, can you lead us in a shalom?
Ose shalom bimromav, O yase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru amen. Yase shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, Yase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yase shalom, shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael.
Thank you. Any position to lead the Mishnah? Okay. So this is the phase in the prayer where we are sparing our thoughts and dedicating our thoughts to all those who need of healing, for Shlema, renewal of body, renewal of soul. And I invited you to mention names of people that you pray for the well-being. I'm now in a phase when I'm aware of the pain here in the city. I'm aware of the pain in the rural areas. I'm aware of the pain in Israel, Palestine. I'm aware of pain, and I'm carrying it with me. And everyone, we're all carrying through all our networks, wherever we are. So out of all the suffering in the world and all the pain and all the sickness and all the cruelty and all the war and all the atrocities, if there are people that you specifically would like to mention now, individuals that you're praying for them, and together we send them strength, and in a mysterious way, which I cannot explain, it helps, or at least so we believe. So please, I invite you to mention names if you want. I also see the people in the Zoom are putting name. Thanks for that.
Take our
Amen. May those who sow in tear will reap in joy. It's a good time to greet you on this special Shabbat. Also, the people who sit over there, thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. So I greet you at my return. It concludes a month in which I was away for a variety of reasons. In the village, in the rural area, in the CPJ conference, and in Israel. And I'd like to wholeheartedly thank all those who stood up, stepped in and replaced me. Some of them are here, Alistair and others. Thank you for that. Mainly last week, the youth who are leading brilliantly the service was widely commented, and to Simon who facilitated the youth service. So this is really greatly appreciated and not taken for granted. I'd like to comment on my encounter with Israel after this is now, I'm moving from my 9th year to my 10th year here in South Africa. And this is my 4th visit to Israel, and the encounter is complicated and rich and beautiful, but also very painful, and opportunity for me to engage and to connect to the life I had before I arrived here, who I were the first 39 years of my life and who I am now. And I'm thankful for that, I'm grateful for that, but I'm also aware of the gaps. And I want to say that I'm thankful for the gift I have of knowing you, from South Africa, you and my community, and being your rabbi. But I'm aware of what I left behind, and every such encounter is awakening those senses of grief and bereavement. And I don't think it's going to be solved. I'm a person who moved from one country to the other, and other people here who immigrated can testify that you just learn to live with that. It's never solved. In the case of Israel, because of the complications of Israel, then there is some extra layer to it, or at least because I'm Israeli and I live here in South Africa, I can see this extra layer. Here I would like to bring the weekly parasha, when Moses, the Shlach Lecha, was your bar mitzvah portion back in the years, exactly. And when the spies are coming back from the land of Canaan, of Israel, and some of them said it's a land of milk and honey, and some of them said, no, it's a land that devours its inhabitants. Eretz ochelet yoshveh, a land that eats those who live in it, or it's a land of milk and honey. And the truth is that it's not either or, but in the case of the land of Israel specifically, it's both at the same time. And I think sometimes foreigners or others, or non-Jews or non-Israelis, find it hard to understand, but Israel is not this or the other, it's at the same time both of those notions. And there's no point in that sense in putting Israel on a pedestal or to vilify it on the other side, but to just accept that it's a space with very dense energies, that at the same time is very progressive and very traditionalist, very free and very regulated, place with a lot of hope, place with a lot of despair, all together. And we are intertwined with those notions. I cannot say, and that's like a misconception that people has, that they align themselves with one of the sides as if There is only good things that needs to be protected, or there are only bad things that needs to be condemned. And maybe this is the time to say a few words on the modern notion of how it came to be what it is today, which has got to do with the modern Zionist movement, modern Zionism, and to explain Zionism is an ideological tool, an ideological vehicle to the fulfillment of the political aspiration of the Jews in the land of Israel. So sometimes when I say that Zionism is a political movement, people are see it as disrespectful or strange, why it is a political movement, or what's political about it, or sometimes, several times South African Jews found it very awkward when I said it's a political movement. But the simple notion is that the political movement, in the sense that Jews, that it claims that Jews would fulfill their national identity. First, the Jews has a national identity, only a community of faith, and this national identity would be fulfilled by an establishment of a political entity in the ancestral homeland. That's encapsulate what Zionism is. So we're taking a religious history of 3,000 years with modern political thought based on national ideologies that have been developed in the 19th century. Nationalism was developed in the 19th century in Europe, and the combination of that, of those national notions, idea that there is such thing in a nation, and a nation should express itself in a political entity like the Italians or the Germans or the Hungarian or the Czech or the Poles wanted to express themselves, and the Jews can fall into that equation and express themselves as a political entity. That's happened together. So in that sense, Zionism is a modern phenomena going to the future, but is being inspired by the past, trying to create a new future, but with ancient aspiration, a complex and entirety of ideas which have to do with faith, with nation. Some of them are universalist, some of them are political, and the idea that it's not just ideology, but this ideology would like to fulfill itself in a pragmatic way, And I think that the pragmatism is very important to acknowledge, because here you are separating yourself from just fundamentalism. And today there are fundamental streams within Zionism who are a threat, at least in my understanding, to the whole project of bringing of the Jewish resurrection. And I want to bring Ben Gurion here to kind of bring Ben Gurion to the Calderon. If you don't know, Ben Gurion was the founder of the State of Israel. So when he accepted the partition solution, the end of 1947, partition solution that didn't fulfill itself. Never mind, it says, we asked for the maximum, we received the minimum. The fact that we accepted the partition offer doesn't mean that we gave up the maximum that we still aspire for. Okay? It's pragmatism. We are asking for the maximum, we receive the minimum, that's what we can work with at the moment. So being pragmatic means that you are oriented to a vision, and the vision is eternal. Vision is your compass. Compass. Yeah. Dream on the future in the spirit of the vision of the prophets. Nation shall not fight no more, nor shall they learn of war. And our dreams are a compass, but you have to see where you are. You have to read the map. You cannot just go where the compass shows you that's the north. You have to read the map and see where you are, what can be done, what work to be done, and what should be done. So one cannot understand Zionism, the building of the land of Israel, Jewish settlement in the land of Israel without understanding this past and the awareness of 3,000 years of Jewish existence. So one vector is from the legendary past to the legendary future, you know, to the future that we aspire for. That's one compass. There's another compass, which is the reality, the present, what the present offer. The present offer, the reality offer dichotomy, obstacles, crisis, difficulties. That's what the reality offers us. So back to Ben Gurion, several notions that he said on several occasions, and I'd like to kind of bring in. One, that the Bible is the mandate. The Bible is the mandate. The Bible is what kind of give us or creates the expectations or the aspiration. The Bible that was written by our people in the Hebrew language in the land of Israel. This is why we are even thinking that we are in a position to say that the resurrection of the Jewish people who will be in the land of Israel. One. Second, this is not my opinion, it's like I'm quoting Ben Gurion. Second quote, that Zionism is a messianic movement. Now, messianic, I know you guys, when you say messianic, you usually have Jesus in your mind. Messianic in the sense that going to, I got nothing to do with Jesus. Messianic in the sense of messianic time to redeem the people and redeem the world. That's something that Ben Gurion was repeating over and over. That the redemption of the people is an opening to the redemption of the world. And three, that the Jewish statehood is not the end, but it's the beginning. The establishment of a Jewish statehood is the beginning, which will be a leverage to our efforts of redeeming the world in the spirit of Tikkun Olam. He didn't use the term Tikkun Olam, it's like a progressive term, he wasn't aware. He says to redeem the world. To redeem the world is the case to have such a Jewish statehood is on the condition that it assisting the redemption of the world. And if it is not, then we should ask what's the value in such statehood. And finally, again, something that Ben Gurion says several times, and it's even on there's not many videos of Ben Gurion, but this is one that is on a video, a TV interview after his retirement. He says, the land belonged to two. It belonged to the Arabs who live in it. It belongs to the Jews all over the world. I said again, the land belonged to two. It belonged to the Arabs who live in it, and it belongs to the Jews all over the world. That's not my leftism. That's Ben Gurion, who cannot be blamed for being left. So the current crisis that we experience is a crisis of identity, confusion. The question what we are, who we are, and for what purpose have we sacrificed the enormous sacrifice that took to our people and to others in order to create the political structure, the statehood, the state of Israel. For what have we sacrificed this enormous price in blood, in energy, in resources? That's as for us. I'm looking at the Palestinians, they are victims of that crisis of identity. And I can tell you that, at least the way I see it, the fulfillment of the Zionist project will be reconciliation, peace, and integration of the Palestinians in the social tissue of the society, in creating of a Jewish Arab society which will spread the peace, live peace, practice peace, and bring the blessing of progress and prosperity to the Middle East and all over. I am well aware that from where we are standing now, it seems like a faraway dream that got nothing to do with the reality or where the reality is. What I can say to my defense is such is the dream that the same as that looks as an unrelated to the reality dream. So the dream of South Africa, which is multicultural, non-racial, and pluralistic. Both of them seem really unrealistic. And we are in the experiment of non-racial, multicultural South Africa for 25 years. and we are not even close to solve the problems that are here to solve. So in that sense, the fact that I can say this is the vector doesn't mean that we are going to be there tomorrow. I'm just saying this is where we are heading, a reconciled society, which will practice, which will be non-militaristic, prosperous, and teaching peace, practicing peace and teaching peace. And I'm aware that this is a dream. Will you know, that's like my duty at this as a clergy to indicate. Now, in both cases, South Africa and Israel, this is our shift. We have inherited reality which is harsh and complicated, and a reality which is very unpleasant to. Are we good? Sorry. A reality which is very unpleasant to look at, which is very unpleasant to reckon and to look in the eyes. Mainly South African Jews are very reluctant to wake up and to look at the reality of life in Israel, the political situation of Israel, mainly the parts which resonate with the old regime in South Africa. And the time is really pushing us because the reality that we live in is that on top of the political problems, the main problem of our time is the environmental issues and not the national issues. The national stories, the problems that derive out of the national stories are the problems of yesterday. The fact that we didn't manage to solve them, it's our problem. Now the problem is the environmental problem. We got to wake up for that. If you see only in the last months or so, waves of heat in India and Pakistan, waves of heat in Europe, waves of heat in America, which destroy the crops. We are facing famine. We are facing famine. It's not maybe it would happen. It's happening. We saw the floods in KZN. This is just the beginning. There isn't time for us to waste on the national narratives. We got to move on beyond that. And here there is, I'd like to conclude that with some kind of instruction that comes from the prophets, encompassing the ideas I was talking about, and the Ben-Gurion vision that the land belonged to the Jews and to the non-Jews alike. And the prophet that I want to bring, what I want to end with is the prophet Ezekiel, who says the following: when you will return to Zion, do the following. You shall divide the land. I'm reading, it's Ezekiel 47, 21 to 23. Ezekiel 47, 21 to 23. You shall divide the land to yourself among all your tribes, and you shall give it as a heritage for yourself and for the foreigners who reside among you, those who have begotten children among you, those who had children in the land. And you shall treat them as your Israelite citizens. They shall receive the land among you, with you, among the tribes of Israel. You shall give the foreigner an inheritance within the tribes where they reside, declared the Lord God. So if you're looking on the Torah, it says so many times, the stranger will be as a citizen to you. You shall not discriminate the stranger. The non-Jew will be as a citizen to you. It appears over and over and over in the Torah. That is obviously not being carried out in Israel. In Israel, there's like Jewish supremacy, whether you like it or not, you should know it. But I'm saying that the prophet says, when you come to the land reform, when you come to distribute the land, then you should distribute the land to the Jew and the non-Jew alike. That's not me saying, it's Ezekiel saying. So just to say, the tradition can be, can be the guide to why you should be chauvinistic, why you should support Jewish supremacy, why you should feel that you are better than other nations, why you should be closed within you, or it can show you the way to why you should be open and why you should be sharing and why you should be environmental, and why you should pursue justice and peace. And until we will not pursue justice and peace, we will not fulfill this task, which is going in the circles of conflict, and there will be more and more cost in life and in energy and in blood. And there will not be peace until there will not be justice. And justice looks like redistribution of the resources. So you can try to avoid it or not like it, but until there will be redistribution of the resources, both here and in Israel, there won't be justice, there won't be peace. So that's kind of my message for today. And the encounter with Israel was really, I'm not only that it's our shift, it's my shift. It's my shift. And I'm not in a, the megalomaniac phase that I'm going to do it and so on. But I have to partake in that. So that's my message for tonight. Diane, would you like to lead us toward the Kaddish? Come here. Come.
Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. And this week we remember those whose yortzites occurred: Lorna Belling, mother of Herb Lewis; Simon Echt, father of Leonore Carr; Peter Hudson, husband of Leslie Hudson; Mona Nathanson, mother of Aubrey Nathanson; Joe Schwartz, father of Pat Tucker; Julius Siegel, father of Brian Siegel; and Sandy Tobkin, mother of Gavin Tobkin and Mandy Tobkin.
Thanks for that. Is Mabusemo is with us?
I don't think so, but
Let's check. It's worth it because if he is, you. Okay, then let's have it. So I would say he's not with us. Okay, so we'll play the recording. I just want to say it's the third time we're playing it, right? Maybe more. It's the third time we're playing it. It's the song that we sang to the fourth time. So to the memory of beloved Peter Hudson. To the beloved memory of beloved Peter Hudson. And then we will recite the Kaddish together. Wait, don't stand. Listen. We're Seni, who is a friend of the family, and that's the beloved memory of beloved Peter Hudson. Let's recite the Kaddish together, 598. Please rise. בעגלה בזמן חריף ידעו אמן יהא שמי רבה תורה ובטח יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתעלה 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 שמי לשם ויראו Thank you. Is the sitter, and I invite you again to the right.
Just the notices, there's quite a lot in the bulletin, but I hope you all get the bulletin. And if you don't get the bulletin, contact the office, Morgana or Russell, and ask them to check if you have the correct email address, because it really is worthwhile reading. We've had a couple of very successful events in the past fortnight. We had a workshop for ManCom and Board of Guardians, just to plot a way forward, and you'll be hearing more about it in the future. And we're really talking about a kind of 5-year plan, so we have some sense of greater direction of what we're aiming for. We had an incredibly successful youth service last week for Youth Day. I hope if you weren't here, you were able to join on Zoom. The kids were brilliant. Simone Ford's organized it. And yeah, it was really impressive. Looking forward, Netzer has a series of day camps over the next week or so. The first one being here on Tuesday morning. If any of the youth are interested, please contact Netzer or speak to the office. Saturday Cheder classes have resumed, and Anne McCall has joined the teaching staff. I suppose my biggest message is this is a community of volunteers. We don't pay people to do things. We know you all pay fees, but fees don't guarantee a service unless everyone pitches in. We are desperately in need of hands to help with the security team. When we have services, especially coming up to the high holy days, we really need to make sure everyone is safe. The security team is being very ably managed by Peter and Virgil, with the help of Brandon Hochchild. If you are willing to stand for an hour or two during the course of the service at the gates, just checking that people who are coming in are members of the congregation or are here for not for nefarious purposes, but because they want to be part of the community. That's what the security team does, and they are really important to protect our safety. So if you're willing to give an hour or two a week, a month, every 2 months, please join us. The other volunteering activity, and this is my particular passion, so you're going to hear quite a lot about this over the next while, and that's our Psalms project. Every Thursday, we're feeding about 300 homeless and hungry people in Hillbrow. The numbers started off at about 80, and they've grown and grown. And it's a fairly stable group of about 300. We are desperately in need of somebody to coordinate, manage, work closely with Marian Bavaric Temple Israel in Hillbrow to manage this process. And what this entails, we'll put a full outline in the bulletin over the next week or two. But we need somebody who will coordinate the collection of the sandwiches that are delivered here, negotiate with Marian about any grocery shopping that needs to be done for the next Thursday morning. You know, we've been trying to hand out things like soap, if people need soap, just kind of practical needs. And somebody has to go and do the grocery shopping to make sure that this is available. So and obviously go there on Thursday morning to be part of the distribution. If anybody has time to give energy, passion, please contact me or Simone or the office and get involved. The other thing that project needs is sandwiches to be delivered here every Wednesday to be distributed on the Thursday, hard-boiled eggs, fruit, canned foods, everything is welcome. Scarves, beanies, it's really cold. And of course, financial contributions, because there are always additional things to buy. Like we try to distribute EPUB, but EPUB is expensive and you've got to pay for it. So financial contributions are also needed. Any questions about this, please contact me or Simone or the office, and we can tell you more about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane, for that. And you know, we are a very small team, and the team is the core, but the volunteers is the body. You know? And our span of our wings is not a team, it's the volunteers. Whatever we do or we fail to do, it's the volunteers. And in that sense, whatever you see here around, we basically need volunteers for all our teams. So we can talk about it in due course. This is just examples. Okay, like three examples of that. Good, guys. So we are still in the no electricity. What we're going to do is I suggest we will just take our lights and march together to the Jenks Hall where there is food, and then we'll just locate the light and we'll eat and everything usual. These conditions. And on the notion of the environmental crisis, electricity is luxury. Don't presume you're entitled to electricity. Okay, many people don't have it, and that's how it is. Good. I think that's a good time to conclude the number 625.
Adonai, Hashem Allah, B'terem kol yetzirah, v'yem natzah, v'lev sukkot, azan v'lev shemo nikra, Adonai, Hashem Allah, B'terem kol yetzirah, v'yem natzah, v'lev sukkot, Azan shemo nikra, v'yamare, ilot hakol, v'bado yilot nora, v'hu hayam, v'hu oved, v'hu yeretz tzipora, Adonai Hashem Allah, b'terem kol yetzir nikra, Azan shemo nikra, v'hu etom, v'sheni, v'hamshiro le'machkiro, v'lirishi, v'lizati, v'lo achos le'ha'Yisrael, Adonai Hashem Allah, b'terem kol yetzir nikra, Azan shemo nikra, v'hu eli, v'chakali, v'tzumeli v'etzara, v'hu nisi, u'machnosti, v'nefasi v'yoveka, Adonai Hashem Allah, b'terem kol yetzir nikra, v'nefasa v'netzakot, Azan shemo nikra, v'ya'adon, v'kikrufi, v'yishak v'ya'ira, v'yeruki, v'yati, Adonai v'lo'ira, Adonai Hashem Allah, b'terem kol yetzir nikra, v'nefasa v'netzakot, Azan shemo nikra, Adonai Hashem Allah, b'terem kol yetzir nikra,
shalom. Thank you, the Zoom. Thank you, Zoom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Okay, let's do it together.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom, Margaret.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Oh, well, you're in Ireland. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, what part?
Dublin.
Okay, fantastic. Wow.
Yeah.